when people start in business, and particularly us as tradespeople, you get a lot of people around you saying, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you going out on your own? Why don't you stay in a good job? 9 out of 10 businesses fail in their first X amount of years, and all of this negative behavior that pops up, overlay a bit of tall poppy syndrome in there as well. It starts to get very toxic to try and start your own company and actually have a crack and believe in yourself. There's always a bit of a stigma in the private sector that you don't quote, they don't go up, they don't call me back, like trades suck generally. How can we make that change on a massive scale so that people are looking at going, oh, you're going out and getting a trade, that's a phenomenal decision. We are really changing the way tradespeople are seen.
In growing from 16 to over 100 staff, I'm guessing you must be a beast at acquiring customers.
We're pretty good.
Can you put... You must be. All right, here we go. My guest today on the Plumify podcast is Sam Ackland. Sam used to be the CEO of Buildclean, now is currently unemployed. So, and I did have a better intro, but now, things have changed in the last 24 hours.
That's exactly right.
Sam, thanks for joining me, mate. And I don't know if you wouldn't know this, but you might know this because I might have told you, but I've been following you for a long time, and I've definitely really looked up to you, especially seeing as you've been very visible with a lot of the awards and stuff that you've won. So I've always followed your journey, and I'm really excited for you to be here, mate. And thank you for being a bit of a friend now. Appreciate
Thank you very much. It's really exciting to come on here, and particularly after, like you said, the news from yesterday, hanging up the mop and bucket, so to speak, as CEO of Buildclean, and running in today, almost semi-retired / unemployed, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should be coming off the back with something different particularly for the listeners today as well. So should be a bit of fun, and we'll unpack that a bit later on.
Yeah. So mate, do you want to whip it from the start, or maybe from that, that crazy, the Instagram post about when you were 19 living in Byron Bay out the back of a van? Maybe we could start it from that point.
Excellent. All right. Well, I suppose as every young man does, you've got no idea what you want to do with yourself, and you either go to uni, get a trade, or you fuck off overseas. Mm-hmm. So couldn't afford to go overseas, but I could afford to buy a van, and I like surfing. So I moved up to Byron Bay. After a little bit of time there, bought my own van, started living in it, just surfing up and down the coast, probably partaking in too many of the extracurricular activities that happen in the Byron Bay vicinity. But yeah, it's good times, really, really good times. It's living life slow.
Yeah.
But that only comes, that you can only be sustained by that for so long. So it also comes with an overarching feeling of you're a piece of shit. So I did that for about 9 to 12 months, and decided I actually had to do something with my life and had to make a future for myself. And at that point as well, I got tattooed on my arm, The Pursuit of Happiness. I tried to, like a homage to the time where I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just going to be, a checkout chick at Woolies, or, I wanted to make sure that I was holding myself accountable to actually do something good for the world. So yeah, left Byron Bay, sold the van, moved back to Adelaide, started a business degree, and at that point in time started working with my family's cleaning company as well. So that's kind of where I'd learned my trade.
Yeah. And so Buildclean, talk us through that. So, what year did you start Buildclean? 2017?
We officially Buildclean in 2018. Okay. Before that, soul trading for a couple of years under a company called Ground Control. Mm-hmm. And that was literally, we would just do anything for anybody that would pay us. Okay. Like we would go from cleaning gutters to cleaning windows to painting to landscaping to putting in dodgy retaining walls. We were doing absolutely anything.
Yeah. So can you run us through where you're at now? Because it's grown considerably, and, with how many staff you've got, the national, I know you've gone national now. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty crazy story because along the way you've won quite a few awards. I've got a screenshot of it in my phone, but you've won a lot. So, and you've been quite public, out in the public, I suppose, along the way. So can you run us through the Buildclean journey from when you started to sort of where it is at this point?
Absolutely. So when we were in our ground control days as a sole trader, We were finding that I was spending the vast majority of my time either quoting jobs I had no idea what I was actually quoting, and then going to Bunnings to get tools for jobs that I didn't know how to do. So it was probably unintentional, but I spent a lot of time thinking about what was the easiest thing that we did, what did the guys enjoy the most, and what could we make the most money out of it as quick as possible. And that went back to cleaning. That's where my experience was. So in 2018, rebranded from Ground Control into Buildclean. Still kept, the 5 guys that I had with us. A couple of guys were just getting paid cash, and it was a bit of it was the ideal example of what a sole trader is. It was just fast and loose. Yep. So come into 2018, then we rebranded to Buildclean, and we were like, right, this is a line in the sand where we used to do all that shit, and now we're just going to do construction cleaning. We're just going to service builders, and we're going to run this as a tight operation. So we started, growing the team from there. I think within the space of rebranding, it was early February 2018. By the time we got to March, April, we had won a massive job for Sarah Constructions. And that was really like a milestone for us to actually be like, okay, someone's seen what we're trying to do, or someone has, put faith in us. Now we need to deliver on that. And that was a great opportunity for us to grow our team from, 5 up to 16 odd within space of a couple months. So
And now where is it at? You've got, how many staff have you got now, Sam?
Just shy of 100 at the moment across the country.
100 across the country. Wow. And what states are you in?
We're in Brisbane, we're in Queensland and Victoria.
Yep.
We've got a couple launches lined up for next year as well.
And so when you, along the way, I'm interested to know about how the awards came about, and I guess did that change anything in your life when you won? Because what are some of these awards that you won, Sam? You won a whole bunch of them, personal accolades, I suppose you'd call them.
Around 2020, I got Young Entrepreneur of the Year through Business SA. Within the same week, I got the Top 40 Under 40 Entrepreneur Award with InDaily. That was amazing. That was my first taste of like, wow, it was almost like a little credibility stamp. Like what I'm actually doing is actually having an impact. So I guess I got a little bit hooked at that point in time on winning awards, and that became my thing. And I suppose I'm reasonably good at creative writing and copywriting. So that's half of winning awards. You've got to do something, but then you've also got to be able to sell yourself on the way. So, that started a string of awards from there on, throughout different small business ventures and, small business programs.
And did the awards change anything, I suppose, did it change the trajectory of the business? Or that's one question I had for you, because I'm interested to know that.
I think they probably made me naively confident in the fact that going up on stage and receiving an award, there's 2 parts to it. If you don't win the award, and the year prior to winning the InDaily Entrepreneur Award, I went the year prior to that awards, wasn't involved in it, but I saw what it took to actually get onto stage, and I thought, yep, I want to do that. However, when you get to the point where you actually do win one of the awards, it probably sparked my overconfident, or probably overconfidence in myself. And whether that was beneficial or not, I suppose erring on the side of more beneficial. However, I think it's very important to, a couple of years later, do a lot of self-development work to kind of detach a little bit of the ego-driven metrics that I was hunting down. More money, more power, more status, were essentially where I was heading. And I think the birth of my child was a great opportunity to pump the brakes a little bit on that and seek a bit more fulfillment, as opposed to just being this power hungry, crazy man.
Yeah. So did the awards make you feel the way you thought they'd make you feel? Like, or was it like when you buy a shiny new car and then the next week you're just like, whatever?
It's exactly the same as that.
Yeah?
Yeah. They can be very empty. And I suppose what they do, exactly like the sports car framework, is you get it, it feels cool for a week, and then you need something bigger, faster and stronger to sustain that need. So
it's like a slippery slope with
this. It's a very slippery slope, yeah.
Okay. And the birth of your son, do you reckon just change the trajectory a little bit, or change your thinking?
Yeah. And I think for those of you who don't have kids, and for those of you that do, when you find out that you're having a child, and you probably went through the same thing as well, you start to analyze how your parents parent, and the relationships that you see and how you see other parents parenting as well.
Yep.
And it's a really good opportunity for you to kind of take inventory on who you actually are as a man or woman, as a parent, as opposed to everything it took to get you to this point in your life. So I think, having kids was a great opportunity for me to kind of go, boyhood's behind me, trying to be this chauvinistic prick. And then from here on, I want to be a good person. I want to have an impact on the world, or at least my community. And I want to try and do a bit of good instead of just collecting everything for myself.
Well, actually, that brings me perfect onto one of the next questions I had was, you've written in your LinkedIn profile that building your company is your life's work. Can you explain what you mean by that?
It's almost, I think I need to update my LinkedIn profile, really, to be honest with you. Because that was really probably a timestamp of me maybe a year and a half ago, where I was painting this vision for the future. I could see where it was going to end up. I understood the end goal. But at that point in time, every single thing that I did, every waking moment, even, half sleeping moments, was thinking about work. It was, where are we expanding? How are we doing it? Who are the key people? How are we making sure the clients are, looked after and get equal or better standard here in Adelaide so that, everything else can grow with it. But yeah, I think I've really, given what happened yesterday, there's a great opportunity for me to kind of understand that there is myself and there's also the company, and those two are, different entities. And that's starting to become more prevalent now, as you're doing all the quoting, as you're running the company, overseeing all the books, almost doing everything, wearing all the hats. It's very easy to feel like you and the company are the one entity. And then as you start to grow and you have more delegation and more people working for you, and more people helping and actually being accountable for those functions, then you start to, delineate that.
Yeah, that is a big thing, isn't it? That's why I struggled with that for a long time. Is like you identify yourself as the business.
Exactly.
And it's like, until you can detach yourself from that, I think you'll just always be stuck. Or I put it as things happen, like, for instance, something might not go right in the business, or someone talks bad about your business and you feel like it's like they're personally talking to you, like, about you've done a bad job, and like I felt like until I removed myself and detached myself from the business, like even just the way I reacted sometimes was not where it needed to be, because I was taking everything like personally, thinking that I was still the business. And it's like, that is a big thing, I reckon. Is like, and it takes time and people to mentor you around it. I think is like learning to be like, Sam Ackland isn't Buildclean.
Yeah, exactly.
Buildclean isn't Sam Ackland. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's a really hard journey to go down as the leader, but I think it's a natural progression as well. One thing that we would try and establish when, something like that, say you get a negative Google review, which hurts everybody, it always does. But trying to understand whether it was the issue a issue about who the person was, whether that person was having a bad day or underskilled, underprepared, or was it an issue with the systems and processes that we built? So was it a person issue or was it a systems issue? Because that would then take myself out of it and go, this is not my fault. This, as the leader, everything ends up being your fault, but this is not a personal attack on me. This is, was there something going on with those particular people, or is there a problem with the model that I'm building or the systems that I'm creating? And then, if it is a system problem, then you go back and reboot the system. And if it's a person problem, then take it up with HR. Which at the end of the day usually is yourself anyway. So
yeah, it is. You've gone from 0 to over 100 staff. So in Buildclean, and we'll get to the big announcement yesterday shortly. But I've just got a couple more questions around Buildclean. Can you think of anything that fundamentally changed from you going in that massive trajectory? Is there anything you implemented in the business, or even learnings like mindset? Maybe one is like detaching yourself from the company, but is there anything you can think of, like a top 1 or 2 or 3 things that really like rocketed you to a different dimension in the business?
I think as far as being the leader of the company, in order to prepare yourself for the different stages that you go through, I found a lot of it came down to what I would wear, because what I would wear would be a reflection of what I'm thinking. So, you start out, you're on the tools, you're in the work vehicle every day. Then you get to the point where you drive, a nicer Hilux or, a nicer ute, and you're not in the work van. That's a little bit of a change, and that is a physical and mental change. And then you get to the point where you're still wearing work pants and you're still wearing work boots, but you're not really getting dirty. You're wearing the same uniform every day, change your shirt and what have you, but you're not really getting dirty anymore. And then you get to the point where you go, I wear, chinos and RMs. Yep. And that's another point where it's like, cool, I'm not dressed to go on site, so now I cannot go on site. And then you always keep your boots and stuff in the back of the car. And after, 6 months or so and they haven't been used, then you take them out, and then it becomes, as you're progressing as the leader of the company, as your role changes, you're dressing for that role as opposed to staying exactly the same as you were when you were acting as a technician.
Yeah, that is a good one, actually.
So I guess that's, sorry to cut you off there. No. That covers you as the leader. And then something that maximized or optimized our ability to grow is creating win-wins. So we're all about incentivizing our technician and our management staff. We're also, as far as the expansion plan goes, we also give an equity stake for the managing directors around the country. So it's not just Jack and myself, my business partner Jack. It's not just us, expanding and conquering and everything. It's bringing people in that we trust and we want to assist in their growth as well. And then, providing them an equity stake within the company.
Okay, yeah, that's so cool. In growing from 16 to 100 to, over 100 staff, I'm guessing you must be a beast at acquiring customers.
We're pretty good.
Can you put... You must be. I'm interested. Don't expect you to give away all your secrets, but I think, what would you say separates you in regard, in that sort of realm? Because to do... from 2018 to now, go from 0 to 100, over 100, you must have like an absolute beast mode when it comes to, acquiring new customers.
Yep.
What's your sort of thought process around that?
It's not necessarily, yes, acquiring customers is a massive element for growth. Understanding the core business departments is something that we're very good at. Creating KPIs behind those core business departments and then having accountability on those as well. But to, I suppose, to summarize the marketing function, our marketing strategy, the purpose of it was to be omnipresent. That was the sole outcome that we wanted to deliver, was to make sure that if anybody in construction was needing cleaners, that we were the Glad Wrap, we were the Xerox, we were we are the only name that people consider first. I suppose that goes hand in hand with the name of the company as well.
Yeah, that's elite. So I like that. That's going to make me think about some things later, I think.
I suppose to go a little bit more tactic based, for those that want to have a bit of a takeaway from it, is playing where your customers play. And that isn't just about, if you're serving residential clients, then you're just playing on Instagram. If they're there, then they're also, on TikTok or they're on Snapchat, or, it's understanding who your customers are and where they play. Also, if your customers are like commercial or B2B, then you might have a better opportunity playing on LinkedIn, or doing, site visits and door-to-door stuff. So it's really understanding where they are and where they're most receptive, and then attacking them there, and also attacking on all other faces as well.
Do you have any tips around I guess how you go about understanding your customer? It seems like you're really good at that, understanding where they're playing, where they're, so the marketing is actually working. What are some of the things that people can do?
Have a look at where your customer flexes. That's a lot of people are really enjoying the kind of flex status at the moment. So, for example, residential builders are really easy to find. I mean, they flex on Instagram. So that's a very good reflection of where they're playing. You take, commercial site supervisors and contract administrators and that kind of thing. They're actually playing on LinkedIn because they're always searching for the next job, the next gig, the next best car, as they jump from company to company. So it's really understanding about why that person or why that profile is actually using that platform, and then maximizing on it.
Yeah, bang. That's a good takeaway. So 2022, you went from managing director to CEO of Buildclean. Can you explain, because this is more of a selfish question, to be honest, but what fundamentally changed when you went from managing director to CEO? What is essentially the job? How are the job roles different? How is your day different? I'd love to understand that.
Yep. I look at them very, very tangibly, in the fact that the title managing director means that you are the director of managing everything. And in my head, and for my team to understand the changes that were happening within the company, because the company is growing so fast. I wanted to draw another line in the sand and go, I am no longer the person that answers every single one of your questions. I am not the director of managing everything.
Yep.
I wanted to pull, maybe not pull myself away from it, but encourage my team to see the internal hierarchies that are in the management team and solve their problems together. So I was very big for a period of time of saying, don't come to me with problems, come to me with your solutions, as in almost ask for permission to solve the problem, as opposed to coming to me for me to solve the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I suppose removing myself from being managing director and titling myself as CEO, said to myself and also said to my team that this is the role that I need to fulfill. And if there's managing directors questions, and that is taken up with the the management team and the project teams.
Yep. Okay. So it seems like you're often saying team. So it's obviously to get to the point where you've got to with Buildclean, and next part is what we're going to talk about is the stepping down as CEO. But how have you gone about building such an elite team? Because it seems like that's another thing maybe that you're really good at is finding the right people and putting them in the right places.
I think to go from being a one-man show to having multiple departments within your company, I think it's very important for the company leader, the business leader, to wear every single one of those departments and optimize it themselves. So only you can understand what are the main marketing KPIs that you need to achieve in order to get to your strategic objectives. Only you can sell your company, or you can do it better than anybody else. So if you're wearing that position wholly and solely, which I wore the sales hat for a very long time, you can then create the expectations. You can create the accountability metrics. You can create the KPIs that need to be achieved. And then all you need to do is find the right person to, to uphold those standards. So I think to get yourself from being, the doer of everything up to, whether you want to be the managing director or CEO or whatever that title is, it's understanding that you break down your company into different departments and then you optimize that yourself, and then you hand the baton over to the next person, or the most suitable person.
Yeah. You mentioned Jack before, who he's been with you since the start of Buildclean, or actually before when it was ground control. A lot of people, I have so many people coming up to me, like mates, a lot of them, and people on the Insta saying they're thinking about going into a partnership with someone, and I'm always like, I probably wouldn't. I'd pump the brakes on that. But you and Jack seem to have like a really good sort of working relationship, and even outside of work, I know you guys hang out a lot. Do you got any advice, for people who are looking to enter a partnership, and what's made, I guess, you and Jack so successful? Can you think about any things that really have, gelled you guys together through the thick and the thin? Yeah.
For those of you who are looking at a partnership and trying to understand what your role is and what that person is, so I think it's very important for you to understand or to segment your expectations of each other. That's one thing, to have separate job roles as opposed to doing things together. If you're considering bringing on a partner, I think it's very important for you to listen to or read a book that is called Rocket Fuel. And that explains for you the concept of visionary versus integrator, and how visionaries are great at seeing the future and mapping things out and getting the ball rolling, moving the momentum. They're pretty shit at actually finishing the last 10% of a 100% project. Whereas you get the integrators who are more than happy to make sure that things are done properly and done in a certain way. So to overlay our roles, I'm a great visionary. Every single job that I start is usually done between 60 and 90% because I lose interest and move on. Which is a blessing and a curse. But to be able to identify very early on that Jack was very good at making sure that things get finished properly, also assisting me in pumping the brakes on some of the, shiny object syndrome that can pop up, meant that we both met in the middle, where there is still conflict from time to time. However, we always understood whose strengths were whose and whose weaknesses were whose. And we always have a lot of open communication about whether we fuck each other off pretty much, or whether we disagree on certain things. And there's weeks where you're not the best friends. We still work out every day together. But I suppose when you're in business together, making sure that it's not, this is mine and this is yours, or going into a partnership where possible, I know this doesn't always work, but going into a partnership where, well, the best example is if you were to go in together even, but you did it as a 51-49, that from the get-go says that that person wants to maintain control over that person. That's playing a hierarchy. And we actually sought out a bit of advice, quite a few years ago before Jack bought in, and we were toying up with the, 60-40, 70-30 type setups because I did start it on my own. And our advice at the time, which is phenomenal advice, was, are you guys going to compete with each other for the rest of your life, or do you want to make sure that you achieve success together evenly and equally? So we just went for a 50-50 straight away.
Okay. So that brings up an interesting point, because if you and Jack are in a 50-50, how do you work through disagreements? Because essentially in a company, if you're 50-50, you both have, and there's 2 shares to make it easy. You've got 1 share of the company and Jack's got the other share. How do you work through disagreements when both of you have the same amount of voting rights, so to speak?
Yep. We've been very fortunate that we were always on the same trajectory within reason. I know that very early on, I reckon there was a few comments said that, there's no fucking way we'll do $1 million worth of revenue in cleaning, and there is no fucking way that we will do 5 and 10 and so on. And, we made some bets with each other as well. I think there's a bet that's still standing that if we do $100 million in revenue, I'll buy Jack a Ferrari. I think that's still in play.
So you should.
But understanding exactly where you're going and maintaining that alignment doesn't always work perfectly. But we were very fortunate in the fact that we all knew that, or we both knew that the target was kind of in that direction. We didn't know exactly what it was, but we knew it was over there. And we were just going to hunt that down until we found out where it was. So it wasn't as if, we'd got into business together and I wanted to expand nationally and Jack wanted to stay in SA and, go into carpet cleaning or something different. We trialed and tested different theories to work out what we actually wanted to really achieve. What's the purpose behind going national? What would be the purpose behind adding on separate services and that kind of thing? Testing and trialing, and both having the open communication about, okay, eventually Adelaide Buildclean will meet its market cap and we will need to either add additional services on to keep growing or, grow into stay. And those kind of more like strategic meetings enable business partners to actually have conversations about things before you get tunnel vision on what you believe you should achieve, and then you've got to pitch it to your business partner. So it's working through that strategic direction together.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too stuck on Buildclean. It's just so interesting because it's such a wicked story, and I'd want to get onto Alpha Tradie definitely. But ever since you came here, a few weeks ago, you mentioned something that was really pivotal along your journey with Buildclean was bringing the virtual CFO. Can you speak to that just briefly about what that did, why you did it? Because that's something that I've just been thinking about flat out since we spoke about it.
Yeah, absolutely. To jump back a long way, I failed accounting at university, the first round. Which is a massive, red cross in my mind about my ability to handle numbers. Eventually passed it the following year. But then fast forwarding, going through the process of the stages of a rapid growth company, you find that you are profitable. However, your cash flow is almost non-existent because every month you're investing in the next set of wages, the next set of tools, the next set of equipment. So you're constantly pumping back in, and there becomes a point where you can't necessarily put your numbers into something and say, this is, particularly in the first few years, this is exactly where you're going to run out of money. It's more just to kind of suck it and see. But now that we've got to the point where we do have 5 years worth of data, we can actually be a little bit more smart, a little bit more strategic with our metrics and with our forecasting. So what we wanted to know from engaging a virtual CFO is how fast can we grow? How much risk are we opening ourselves up to at that rate of growth? And the main thing when I say growth is how many expansions, how many different interstate expansions can we achieve in the shortest amount of time? So our mission is 5 by 25. That's 5 states and territories by 2025. And we've got a couple left to do. And the main idea behind the CFO was like, if that's what we want to achieve, then where do each of those expansions need to be without, really stressing out the cash flow within the company.
That's just a good thought experiment, thinking about that ever since we spoke about it. It'd be really powerful just to have someone from that, like an external, non-biased perspective, just tell you like, this is the raw data, and not having any sort of emotional attachment to any decision you make in your business. And was that a good part about it?
Absolutely. And they will question you on things that you would take for granted or you would brush under the rug. Say you have a really poor job, a job just absolutely tanks. It happens from time to time. They'll call you up on it so that you're just not like, that month was shit, that doesn't count. They'll make you unpack and understand exactly why. They'll call out, if you've got several of the same kind of problematic clients, you have discussions around, is that client still suitable for us or not?
Yeah.
And a massive one for us, and probably a massive one for most of the listeners, is that because we have such a large amount of vehicles, we've got such a massive fleet, and you're constantly taking on vehicles, turning vehicles over, the cost per week or the cost per month of your vehicles doesn't actually show up on your P&L, on your profit and loss statement. So we have got a P&L, which is our performance document, which gives us what our net profit should be. But to understand that further, our actual operating profit, we had to take out the cost of every one of the vehicle repayments.
Yep.
So that in the early days, it was very confusing because we thought, oh, cool, we've made, 10% net profit or 20% net profit, not factoring in all the vehicle expenses that had to come out. So as you start to get, 3 states, 30, 40, 50 vehicles, it gets a little bit further than, I think it's just about that much. It gets to the point we have to be like, okay, we've got a massive financial forecast for the next few years, and we've got a second sheet that goes through like all the drivers, all the ins and outs of vehicles, as in we're getting 2 more this month, we're getting 4 more next month, we're selling 6, that kind of thing, so that you actually see the relationship between vehicles and profitability.
Yeah, that's really cool. CFO. So now, fast forward to now, man, and yesterday you had a pretty big announcement. So can you share that?
It as far as the working day goes, it wasn't any different. And I suppose roles and responsibilities stay the same. However, I think I've touched on earlier, I'm big on kind of drawing these lines in the sand of that was then, this is now. And yesterday, Jack and I were at the gym and we had a conversation. I said, look, I've got no motive behind this, but, what are your thoughts about, you just, because he had for the past couple of months been doing my entire role. Mm-hmm. And we were just like, well, there's no motive behind this. It doesn't matter if we make a decision or not, but what do you reckon about you just being the CEO and just booting me out so that I can work on, the next venture? And he was like, I was waiting for you to say it. Mm-hmm. So it was a really nice position to sit back yesterday and go, okay, I'm now in my mind burning the boats that I can't, if this next little venture doesn't work, this little side hustle, so to speak, I can't just jump back in and take back my old role.
Yeah.
This is a position where I've said, I'm going to make this work. What we've got is going to work. Mm-hmm. And it is working. And now's our opportunity to actually have a bit of impact.
Okay. So you stepping down as CEO and implementing Jack as the CEO and sort of stepping away is, I feel like that's like you said, it's your line in the sand to almost forcefully put pressure on yourself in a way to not give yourself that plan B. Is that
absolutely
sort of what you're saying?
Yep. Burn the boats, take the plan B out. We've tested the water, so it's not a fast and loose, stupid activity. We've tested the water, we've tested the market. We've brought this killer Alpha Tradie brand out. Mm-hmm. And now is time to go, okay, this is also assigned to my team as well, that this is where my focus will be. And then Jack is the best point of call within Buildclean. But also kind of for myself as well to just have another stage of detachment from, I don't have to sit in at every meeting. I don't have to go to every project meeting. I don't have to check in with, all the directors around the country. I know that Jack's got that. Mm-hmm. He's accountable for it, but I've also got the trust in his ability to make sure that that's all done to the best of his ability. So it's nice to just draw it off yesterday. I think I sent you a photo. I was sipping a Negroni while my son was playing with the Bunnings truck.
Yep.
And I was just, getting a bit, nostalgic on the times that we've had together. Even though today we went in the office, we both still sit next to each other in the same office at the same desk, doing the same works. I've got my mind on Alpha Tradie, and he's pumping out Buildclean. So
yeah,
good. It was nice to draw a line in the sand.
And the other photo or video you sent me was you doing 2 hours worth of pipes before you came in. They're looking good too.
Well,
For a context, he sent me a video. He was doing some bicep curls.
yeah. We were talking about, what the workout schedule was before coming in here today. And I said, it's got to be 2 hours of arms. That way I'm looking juicy on the camera.
You look good too. So, mate, Alpha Tradie.
Yes.
Tell me about it, man, because the brand is epic and we know the background of, I guess, your business background now. So what's this new venture all about?
Cool. What we have decided, what we have thought, what we have kind of want to achieve is that when people start in business, and particularly us as tradespeople, collectively, you get a lot of people around you saying that, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you going out on your own? Why don't you stay in a good job? 9 out of 10 businesses fail in their first X amount of years, and all of this negative behavior that pops up. And given, I suppose, that's the kind of concept of the problem that we have just generally, overlay a bit of tall poppy syndrome in there as well. It starts to get very toxic to try and start your own company and actually have a crack and believe in yourself.
Yep.
Then we look at, I suppose, my history in, got the business degree, got the, the accolades, or earned the accolades, and then have this massive growth within the company that actually, when I look back on it, there were some really hard times, but, over the span of that, we actually had a really good run, and it was really quite simple and straightforward. And then going, okay, well, what can we do with this? How can we actually give back? Is like, right, well, let's go out and try and solve that problem that, every business that starts and comes on with us, we make sure that we have a 100% success rate. We don't want anyone to fail. And then also, how can we actually optimize their company, make their life easier, make them show up assist them in showing up as better leaders for their team, and then also as better family members as well. So Alpha Tradie, named and titled, is particularly focused on men. I just speaking from experience, I don't want to, I don't think I can best tailor our abilities to our female audience. However, there's no reason why we can't. But yeah, we're definitely focused on helping guys be the best versions of themselves. Being the best father, leader, and team member they can.
Can you break it down a bit for me then? So how is this? Are you saying you've basically taken everything you've learned through your journey with Buildclean, going from 0 to over 100 nationally, and put it into essentially a platform that is Alpha Tradie? Or can you sort of expand on how it really works, Sam?
Exactly. So there's a few different options, and I'm very excited to kind of release this for you today, that we had been building and have built our online course for trades, and it was a very broad spectrum. It was essentially just an online course for trades. We've gone back, revisited everything, and today's kind of the first day that we're going public on it to say that we've built this online course for startups, for guys that are early on in the phase, with 1 to a few team members, and we've built this course completely free. So you can jump on, you can understand, as I've said a little bit earlier, the different departments within business. We've got strategy, marketing, sales, operations, people, and finance. So it's essentially a fundamentals of business course. Everything that we've learned, everything that we've used, it's applicable directly to construction and the trade services, and map that out there for you. So all you've got to do is put in the time. It's not a silver bullet to make sure that, it's not a get rich quick scheme or anything of the sort on your behalf. You have to put in the effort. You have to be willing to learn, open to change, and ready to try something new. But it's all there at the click of a button, open and free for you. So I'm not here without an ulterior motive as well. The main aim is for the early guys, or the guys that are new in this, or trying to step forward. That course is ideal if you're doing $500,000 a year. If you're doing over that, then we do have group coaching, where we want to make sure that our guys are doing between that $500,000 to 7-figure mark. So that we're all talking the same conversation, we're all talking the same problems, and ensuring that these guys get the maximum growth throughout that period.
Yeah, that is pretty sick, because there's 2 problems, I suppose, when you're a tradie starting a business. Is like there's a massive, people don't realize this before they start either, is there's a massive difference between being good at your trade and being good at business. They're actually they're just totally separate. Like, you could be the best plumber and the worst business person ever, or the other way around. I know people who are really good in business, but I wouldn't want them to plumb anything up. You know what I mean? And then the other problem that I found along the way is like where do you go, man? Like, to know all this stuff that you need to know as you're trying, I suppose, as you're specifically trying to go from just being a single man operator or whatever to then growing an actual business, it's really hard to get all these answers, man, to know where to go for all the shit you need to know.
Absolutely. And who to trust as well. Because there's a lot of people now that I've actually, gone balls deep into the coaching space. I'm looking around at the rest of the market and the rest of my competition in the coaching area, and I'm looking at them and going, what did they achieve? And I'm doing this not out of spite to my competition, but going, am I good enough to teach other people how to do the things that I've done? And I'm looking around going, are these guys
They've got no
not
runs
qualified, but are they? Yeah, exactly. Have they got runs on the board to be able to guide people through this journey? So that actually, for me personally, took a long time to kind of come to terms with the fact that what we have done is big and it's grand and it's great without, pumping up your own tires on the way through, but going, fuck, that's actually pretty cool. And then remapping that for other people was a game and a challenge in and of itself. But then actually having to go out and now sell it and, make it public and market it has been another step as well to make sure that I do actually trust in myself and I do actually trust the things that we've done. And I do trust the system and the program that we've built. So it's been a big internal battle to go, am I fucking qualified enough to teach people how to do this?
And so I'm guessing, is it sort of like from been following the socials for a while, is it sort of like a thing where if you have a specific business problem that you encounter, there's like certain topics within Buildclean where you can be like, I've got my next problem is hiring. How the fuck do I know where to find the right staff? Is that how this works?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So throughout our process, I'm big on systems and process, and so is Jack as well. And we would map out and we would record everything that we were doing, everything that works, everything that doesn't work. And then throughout, the past 5 years, we've got backlogs of shit that worked and shit that didn't.
Yeah.
And then, formulating that out into our blueprint, which we get all of our students to use, is essentially just this killer dashboard that's got all of the different business departments, all of the kind of more generic, problems or sections or actions that you can take, and then how to solve those problems nice and quickly.
Yeah.
So we're trying to break things down into the most common problems. And then we've also got our community where people just jump in and just, have a bad day blasting what's happened and help me now. And, it's a code red scenario. So
mate, you must have put in a hell of a lot of energy into this. I've been thinking that actually a lot. It's like for how in depth I think the program is and stuff, man, like for you to learn all the hard lessons and then decide like, fuck, I'm going to put all these lessons into this Alpha Tradie platform. That seems like a hell of a lot of your investment. You I wouldn't say investment, but it's a lot of time and energy I'd say you must have spent on this. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't explain for you why. As in, like, why would I get to the point where we've got a national company and get to the point where I no longer have a role within my company, essentially make myself redundant from CEO. Why would anyone in their right mind go back and start something harder? And I can't answer that question for you exactly why I've done that. I think it's more, it's a fulfillment element. It's something that I really just want to see if we can have a crack with other people's companies, essentially.
Yeah.
It's go, what we've done is worked. We've got all these principles and frameworks. Let's actually, use this and make everybody else a bit of fucking money on the way through.
Guessing you sound like the sort of bloke who you might like helping people, I suppose. Am I right in saying that as well?
Yeah, I think
seeing other people succeed, I suppose.
Exactly. And I really I kind of want to be that person that guides people through almost the tall poppy syndrome that's really prevalent in Adelaide. As I started this Alpha Tradie journey, I got fucking the shit kicked out of me online for having a crack.
Yeah.
And it really resonated with me hard. It hurt for a small amount of time. And then it really struck me that, are the rest of my students going to go through the same thing when they go out and have a crack? And then the answer inevitably is yes. You are going to cop a bit of flack when you go out on your own. And why not then build a community where we can actually, have open conversations about what it means to be successful, whether that is in monetary terms or in freedom terms or lifestyle or whether you want to buy the big fuck off bar crusher boat, I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's about supporting each other through whatever our definition of success is, and having profits as not dirty words, having, you're understanding each other's incomes is not, a taboo conversation, talking about money within the group and where we want to further invest, and, really opening up and having a safe space where we probably maybe don't have that opportunity with, our parents or our family or, our father figures or whoever that may be. And being like, let's build a community where we are going to achieve, we are going to create success, and we're going to support each other on the way through.
Yeah, having that support would be massive, because I could say from anecdotal point of view is like, especially now our family believe in this day and age, like if you want to succeed, like you have to be doing something different, and you have to be putting yourself out there, and like clearly like you did with, with winning the awards and everything like that. That actually takes a lot of balls too, to put yourself out there, because I've found in doing that myself, you do get heaps of tall poppy syndrome, heaps of people saying, oh, fucking you're everywhere, I'm sick of seeing your face, and you know what I mean? And like to go through that journey, that's actually pretty difficult, I would say,
Yeah, absolutely. I've only been introduced to a quote, and I'll probably butcher it a fair bit, but hatred is the best precursor to success. So if you're getting hated on, it means that you are doing something different, and it means you are on a trajectory to achieve success in whatever your definition is. So if you are out there listening to this and you're getting hated on, or you're thinking about putting yourself out there, taking some videos, shooting some content on site and that kind of thing, and if you're concerned about people ripping into you, then do it almost so that they will, so that you can then get that precursor to success. So have a fucking crack at it.
That's a good way to look at it, actually. Yeah, if you're getting hate, you're probably doing something right.
And for the algorithms these days, any comment, any activity, any engagement's good. whether it's hate mail or whether they're supporting you, as long as you don't read into it too far.
Definitely. What does success look like to you, mate? I wanted to ask you that. You brought it up a few times. Do you know?
I believe that there is a certain threshold of monetary return at which point it doesn't really mean anything. Yes, you still want to, grow a bigger company. You want to have more income. You want to, have larger investments and larger wealth creation. However, I reckon once you hit a certain position, your killer instinct or your drive to get there starts to fade away a little bit, and it probably coincides with you start getting married, you start having kids, and you start to see little value shifts in the young gun-ho guy just wants to make his first million and his first 10 and his first 100. And then you get to the point where you start to have a family and you understand that monetary or wealth terms is just a ability to protect your own realm or your own family, or those in your closer community. So once you've then achieved that, there are still other values and other elements need to be achieved. So I'm very big on having a lot of priority towards my health. As we'd spoken about earlier, having a bit of a joke about the gym. But health encompassing, my own time to think, my own time to create, my own time to work out and make sure I'm staying healthy, and looking after myself, because that way, when I do then come into work, I'm, doing 6 hours of work a day, which is not a great deal in comparison to a lot of people, but I'm there and I'm getting maximum amount of output done so that then I can go to the gym, work out, leave work at 4, get home, spend some time for my son. All of these things are kind of lining up to build, I don't have an exact definition of success, but build what my future self would look back on and almost have like a no regrets mentality on it. Looking fast forward to myself at 40, I'm 32 now, fast forward to there, if I live the same lifestyle that I'm doing now, where, I've limited a lot of my distractions, I'm working out every day, I'm doing great work, I'm building another company, that person in, 8 years time looking back is going to be fucking jacked, have spent heaps of time with his kids during, the pivotal growth stages in their life, still building companies, still doing work at my most optimal output. And I can't really complain with what that, future, mirror looks like. So
yeah, that's actually a sick way of putting it. I think that's actually a really important thing is, and I'm no pro at it, I'm trying to work on it, is like defining what success looks like for you and then sort of reverse engineering everything from that point. I think I've found that a really sort of useful exercise, because because I'm always thinking to myself, like, will I ever be satisfied if I make $1 million, or do I need to make $10 million? Like, it's like, how much money you want to achieve X and Y and Z, and sort of reverse engineer what your success looks like. Otherwise, it's hard to know where you're going without knowing the destination.
Yeah.
I found that to be pretty powerful, actually. Even just as a thought experiment, sit there and think like, okay, what will make me happy? What is success to me?
Yep.
And reversing it from that point.
Absolutely.
You seem like you're good at that.
I think there's kind of two separate, let's play it out as there's two separate Sams that were, through that journey. There was the Sam at the startup, in the sole trader and the early days phase, where it was just blinkers on, narrow-minded at success, and success was money, and success was revenue and profitability.
Mm-hmm.
That were my main drivers of success. Then you're getting to the point where you do achieve enough, you achieve, ample,
Mm-hmm.
or abundance in that area. And then, that kind of ticks your hierarchy of needs to go, okay, well, what other, values do I want to fulfill with my life?
Yep. That is one of the things. I'm glad you brought up health hacks, because you definitely, I know, are sort of a bloke who has, well, I think you're a bloke who has a lot of like health/productivity hacks.
Yes.
Have you got anything that you could share that you've found to be really powerful over, recent times in regards to that space, health and productivity?
Yeah, I kind of...
I know you're big on it.
A bit of a, not a biohack buff, but I fucking love any hack. Anything to get the extra 1% edge.
Yep.
Because you do get to the point where it's not just your physical brutal strength and hard work and grit that is the determinant of your success. It becomes when you get to the point where you're not actually delivering the work and you're leading a team, it then starts to become more about your ability to make better decisions, your ability to make those decisions quickly and effectively, your ability to keep your cool under pressure, all of those more leadership traits that start to pop up. And then you go, right, well, how can I optimize every single one of those? And maybe the biggest takeaway was probably starting with, and you've probably seen me play with it here, the Aura Ring.
Yep.
Just a great little sleep tracking, piece of technology. I've been wearing it for about 3 years now.
What metrics are you tracking on? What is important in sleep?
It gives me 3 overall scores. So shameless plug for Aura here. Got no affiliation, but if I can buy one if you want.
Get Aura.
You've got a readiness score. So essentially open up the app in the morning, you've got a readiness score, you've got a sleep score, and you've got a previous day activity score. So you start to then understand, well, if I didn't do any activity yesterday, I might get a great sleep score, but I'm not really ready for today. You wake up a little bit lethargic.
Yep.
The inverse of that is I had a massive output day. I might have done 20,000 steps, went for a 10K run, and, worked in the garden all afternoon. Wake up the next day tired because you had too much output the day before. So it's then starting to understand, okay, well, if that, then how do I create a day that becomes my everyday, that I will wake up feeling refreshed and I will have got in enough activity, and I can then make the right decisions and make them quickly and make them effectively.
Yep.
So you start to then understand, like, if I were to eat dinner too late in the evening, if I was to have a massive, lamb and rice, or a massive, steak meal at 8 o'clock, go to bed at 9, I'm not going to be able to sleep because my body's going to be digesting. Now, I'm not a scientist or nutritionist or fucking whatever.
Yeah.
But all I know is that if I stop eating by 6:30, I have a better night's sleep. So then you factor that in, and then you go, okay, I toyed with waking up at 4:30 and gymming first thing in the morning. And that worked well for a short period of time, and then phasing that out, waking up naturally now, and then going to working out during the day, which is a luxury that I wish for everybody to be able to achieve. But that means then I'm getting my output in at an optimal time. I'm getting my work in at an optimal time. I'm finishing the day without being too stressed, because I finish the day with a sauna most days. So there's a bit of like distance between finishing tangible work and actually getting home and trying to show up as a parent. And then actually going and, eating at the right times as well. All of those things start to compound.
Yep.
And produce out some pretty good scores.
And do the scores really transfer to actually how you're feeling? Like, is it really accurate in regards to, like, if you get a good, I'm optimized today, do you usually feel like, oh, I actually feel that way?
Yeah. There's a pretty good correlation.
Correlation is good.
Yeah. And And an interesting one that I've been following a lot more recently is HRV, heart rate variability. Essentially is telling me how fit I am at any given point in time. So
and that is doing that for you.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to get one now. I've been on the
interesting.
fence for ages,
because you can go out to, or you can go to Supplement Mart, or you can go to the bloody chemist. And you can buy all the vitamins and everything, but you don't actually know. You're leaving it open to opinion as to whether they're making any difference or not. But then you have something that, take the Oura Ring data as your baseline for this is me, this is my baseline, and then you add in, 2 whatever pills of magnesium for a 2-week period, and they go, okay, well, that's increased my baseline, and now I'm actually a little bit better, so I will keep that. And then, I know you've started saunaing recently.
Yeah.
It'll give you the opportunity to go, cool, well, if I sauna 3 times a week on average over a 2-week period, I'm actually, that 1% better. And you go, cool, well, I'll keep that in. Or, say you have told yourself this story that you like to have 4 gin and tonics before going to bed every evening once the kids have been put down. You look at your scores and you go, that's actually tanking my sleep. Yeah. Even though I get to sleep faster, it's just because you're too stressed out during the day. Yeah. So it's understanding, the relationship between what happens during my day and then what can I use to kind of almost reverse those stresses on the body.
It's like feeding you actual data, isn't it? Essentially.
Exactly.
Like,
yep.
Yeah. The input, you're inputting whatever, and it's giving you the actual proper data.
Just like plugging
analyze.
your car in for a bit of a tune up.
Yeah.
It's like plugging yourself in once a day to go, cool, yesterday I fucked up.
Yeah.
Or, what I've been doing lately is pretty good, and I'm going to continue to do that going forward and then add on the next thing.
Before I get into vision for Alpha Tradie, I wanted to just ask you about the sauna. What do you think? What do you think it does for you?
I like the infrared sauna. There's 2 parts to it in that it's not so hot that it makes you feel like you're choking.
Yeah.
Infrared, I can stay in for, 2 30-minute sessions. I do infrared sauna with Jack as well. We use it as a bit of a unplugged place where we put on binaural beats, which are awesome. Spotify playlists to kind of enhance your brain. They can use them for sleep, use them for focus. We play them in the office.
Binaural
beats.
Okay.
Yeah, they run at brainwave frequencies that kind of are supposed to stimulate the brain. Anyway, we use a meditation one while we're in the sauna, and we use that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are our saunaing times. And we use that as a time to go, we're just going to talk about life or business or, our relationships, or it's just an hour. So we've got 3 hours a week in total where we're not sitting on our phone, half answering emails, trying to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And that's been a great element for us to not only align with our business goals, but align with our personal goals as well. Because if you're launching and expanding interstate, you want to make sure that both of you are aligned with that.
Yep.
And then also the byproduct really is the better sleeping out of it as well. I feel like I'm a lot more relaxed by the time I get home.
That's what I've found. I've only done it for 3 days in a row now, and like, as I said to you earlier, I'm the worst. I'm a really bad sleeper, always have been. And I've got an infrared one now, and honestly, it's like putting me out like a light. And I've never, ever in 36 years of living, or at least my adult life, been able to sleep.
Yep.
And so I don't want to jinx it yet. I don't want it to be, I'm worried that it might be a bit of like,
get diminishing returns.
Yeah. So I don't want to like talk it up too much, but geez, man, it has been pretty big actually so far. So,
and I mean, look at having a tactic like that to use in your evening is a much better way to self-medicating with a couple beers or a couple scotches or whatever.
Yeah.
There is a time and a place to have a bit of a celebration Negroni.
Yeah.
But doing that as a source of medication to get to sleep is something I relied on. I did that heavily for the better first 3 or 4 years of business, and coming out of the other side, you can see how self-sabotaging that actually ends up being on your body and on your mind.
Yep. Actually, I want to end with the vision for the Alpha Tradie, but can I ask you a bit of a deep question that I got asked one time, and it really was a good thought experiment for me. It was like, what keeps you up at night? Is there anything in particular that...
At the moment, content. I will be laying in bed at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm exactly the same as you. I'm constantly waking up and light through that period.
Yeah.
I believe it's a bit of a prehistoric thing or a caveman thing where guys typically, more protective kind of guys will wake up earlier in the morning to see if threats incoming, and it's probably due to the amount of coffee that we drink during the day.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
Everything else, but yeah.
Just thinking about content.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just content creation. How am I going to share the message?
Yeah.
What's the right way to share the message? And just constantly thinking about different scenes and different ideas. There's this one recurring one that's so funny, but I just don't have the production skills to do. I want to have a picture or a video of someone hopping out of the van, beer cans just falling out, and then like kind of cutting to myself being like, fucking join Alpha Tradie. I just got this, like, it just keeps popping.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to work, but drawing that picture of like the old me stuck in this like self-medication phase, can't get out of it, unknowingly self-sabotaging myself in there because I know that I could achieve that thing, but I'm not ready, or potentially wasn't giving myself the opportunity to be ready for it. Like, how can I position some of the things that I've done into little scenes that can be explained in 7 seconds that people don't fucking hate?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got the same thing, man. There's like probably a self-limiting belief as well that I always said to myself, I'm not creative. And now I can't, now that I'm doing a lot of like TikTok videos, which I'm getting a lot of shit about, don't worry about that. But
they're gold.
I feel like
absolute gold.
I can't stop thinking. I can't stop having ideas come in my brain. And I used to think like I'm the least creative person ever. And I think it's been a bit of a, you don't like flexing that muscle in my brain. Like I'd never used that muscle before in my brain. And now that I am always flexing that, imagination or creative muscle, now it's just like I'm really struggling to switch off from it. It's just idea after idea after idea, so I've got the content thing happening as well, mate.
Absolutely. And probably for the guys listening on as well who are going through the earlier stages, they're probably laying in bed, stressed about the finances and wondering about money and that kind of thing. The further you start to educate yourself, and the more you educate yourself on that particular topic that's kind of, stressing you out or keeping you up at night, the less it's going to happen. And then you'll upgrade that for a bigger and better problem.
Yeah. Did you put that post on? You did. I shared it. It was really good. The one life is essentially about upgrading your problems.
Yep. Just
that's
hunting
why
down
I
bigger
shared
problems.
It because it's so true. It's like people think that if you have more money, you'll have less problems, but it's like, nah, you actually have way more problems, but your problems just level up to a new level of problems. So it's like the goal isn't to get rid of your problems, it's to level up your problems. Because there will always be problems, no matter what anyone says.
And making sure that when you do get to that next level of problems, that you do have the capabilities and the capacity to answer that in an educated manner.
Definitely.
So instead of just trying to be, or instead of being the same person that you are and expecting that you're going to be able to answer bigger and more in-depth problems, it's probably a bit naive to think.
That is a very good point. So to finish it off, Sam, if you were to look 5 years down the track from this point now, what would you say your vision for for Alpha Tradie is?
I would like to walk into the office, the area. I can't see exactly what it looks like, but there is a event space where we can bring guys in. We can do education. We can also do kind of your networking or your kind of group events. There is a team of awesome educators that are giving people exactly the answers they need or exactly the assistance to find their own answers. We are really changing the way tradespeople are seen, particularly from, there's always a bit of a stigma in the kind of private sector of like, they don't fucking quote, they don't fucking show up, they don't fucking call me back, like trades suck generally.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can we make that change on a massive scale? And also make it so that people are looking at going, you're going out and getting a trade. That's a phenomenal decision, as opposed to, you're going and getting a trade. Why aren't you going to uni type thing? So, trying to fucking make it a no-brainer for everybody to get into.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, I mean, you said you're a visionary and you didn't even flinch when I asked you that question, so I could tell you definitely thought of that in your brain.
It's probably one of the late night thoughts.
Yeah, I like that. And that's actually a good. I think I spoke about it before, but that's one of the things that's that's really changed some stuff for me. Is like now when I have these visions in my mind, everyone has visions, but they don't always recognize that they are visions or write them down. Or like journal their visions. I wouldn't say I journal them. Well, I do, but it's like just recognizing what your visions are, I think is a big thing that's been helpful for me, because then, you know, your visions are like, they're just important, man. They're important to write down. Do you ever journal?
Yeah,
those sorts of things.
I went through a period where I was journaling every single day.
Yeah.
And I found that being that strict or that stringent on yourself doesn't always work. So I'll journal when I feel like it, which is usually 3 to 4 times a week. And a great framework for you guys to use when you're just starting out, because when you go, I'm going to go buy a journal, it feels pretty fucking out of character. So a easy framework for you to do, and I still journal in this exact framework. I've got a second page as well, which gets a bit deep. But I start with I am, you know, essentially affirmations for myself. I am in optimal physical and mental condition is one of mine. In my early stages of parenting is I am a model father and husband. You see, you start to build out some I ams, things that you think about yourself that you would like to uphold to the best version of yourself. I haves are great for goals.
Yep.
And positioning or wording them in I have a company doing $100 million revenue is a or positioning it in the post tense actually makes you, you know, move forward and achieve that faster, as opposed to going I will or I may.
Yep. I was going to ask you that. Yeah. Yep.
And I'm grateful for, and just doing a couple, I'm grateful for the little things, because it's very easy to just look at the next massive big goal. And I fall victim to this all the time, is just constantly gunning down the next target and forgetting, like, you know, I've got a perfectly happy and healthy little family at home, and, you know, going out and kicking the footy with the kids, or go to the coffee shop and have a nice coffee. Just take a moment to be like, this is fucking cool. This is my life and I'm living it. So those little gratitude elements are a great thing. Yeah, I've got a second page where I kind of, it's a bullshit detector for myself, but yeah, I'll keep that one a little bit on hush. They can DM me if you want a script for it.
Yeah, good. I've been, actually, that's a really good one for tradies. It's sort of along the line you're talking about. Is like, I always get stuck, I still do it all the time, get stuck in, you'll always remember that one bad customer, but you won't remember the fucking 99 awesome feedbacks you've had prior to that.
Yep.
So that is a really good thing to do as well. It's sort of like a gratitude thing, I suppose, but it's like, you know, writing down your wins, I suppose I'd put it.
Absolutely.
Because the human brain is like, well, mine is, I think everyone is just like wired to think about the one shit thing and not the 100 good things.
We're wired for the negative. Absolutely.
Yeah,
but then I suppose when you flip it onto a motivational sense, that some people aren't necessarily motivated enough by, you know, I want to grow my company to here, or, you know, I want to achieve this, or have a net wealth, or certain amount of investment properties, and so on and so forth. You could actually reverse it and do, you know, the inverse equation. That is your heaven scenario. Write yourself out a hell scenario of what would happen if you completely fucked everything up. And have a look at the comparison between the two. And if that's a better motivator for you, then by all means lean on the pain in order to get you in the right direction. So it doesn't always have to be, you know, airy-fairy Instagram quotes about, oh, we're all good and pumping my tires up with my own affirmations and stuff. Look at the inverse and go, well, what would happen if I continued down this exact path, or I slowly fell off the bandwagon, slowly, you know, drank more and worked more and didn't see my family, and paint out what that person would look like, you know, in 10 years' time, and have a look at the comparison and see if that sparks the fire that's needed.
That's so good. That's so true too. Where can everyone find you, mate? Can you let people
shoot me
know?
a DM on Instagram? You can find me at Sam Ackland, or at Alpha Tradie. And if you want to jump on and see what we do, go to alphatradie.com.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate you coming on. Like I said, you're someone I've always looked up to, and I really appreciate your friendship and you coming on the podcast.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you,
Likewise.
mate. Cheers.
Cheers.
Legend. Thanks for tuning in to another Plumify podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and all the usual podcast platforms.